Hey, welcome back. Thanks for continuing on at the ITOM chat with us. We're going to keep working on our talk about CSDM today. We've kind of talked about some things coming into this. How do we go about the CSDM? Some of the features that have been in the platform added to the CSDM. And today, Larry and Marcus are going to talk about life cycle stages, which if you've been in ServiceNow for any amount of time and dealt with those with the assets or with CMDB, you've dealt with those questions of asset status, CMDB status, install status, hardware status, all of those things. And then, so the CSDM lifecycle stages is kind of the answer to that, or what ServiceNow is working towards on a solution to those things. So excited about that. I'm going to turn it over. We'll move on with this session and let Marcus Ang, Larry Dial talk about CSDM lifecycle stages.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Larry Dial. I'm going to take us through the CSDM lifecycle stages and status, and I'm going to share my screen and share a presentation with you now. So first of all, the lifecycle state is a combination of product model, asset, or CI's lifecycle stage and status in the lifecycle. You can manage and track the lifecycle state for a product model, a specific version, or a product configuration. Some of the use cases where this is important, of course, asset management, application portfolio management, application service, event management, for instance. All of these processes need accurate information that is available in that lifecycle stage and status. Some key definitions here. We have the lifecycle mapping table, the lifecycle stage table, and the lifecycle status table. The lifecycle mapping is a table pre-populated with different legacy lifecycle mappings, and it's very widely used. The lifecycle stage table, that's a broad lifecycle phase of the CI status as it moves through different stages of the lifecycle. The lifecycle status table shows specific status of a CI within its current lifecycle phase. So talking a little bit about mapping here, again, lifecycle mapping table is pre-populated. Each mapping record specifies how to map a legacy lifecycle field value based on which table it's in to the CSDM lifecycle standard. Similar legacy stage and status from different legacy tables might map to different CSDM lifecycle values. It takes a little bit of work and diligence and some analysis to determine that. Lifecycle migration stores standard stage and stage status values in the following fields. If you're moving from a legacy solution to the new lifecycle stage and status of CSDM, you'll see various entry points on your left from product model status to asset state, et cetera, through the mapping activity using the CSDM lifecycle, which again populates the two fields of lifecycle stage and lifecycle status. You can actually look at the lifecycle mapping table, and you can see the standard values that are specified in the table. It is highly recommended that if you have the standard fields here, that they are not updated or deleted in any way, as it may cause some unpredictable results for you. For an upgrade scenario, the lifecycle migration checks for the custom legacy lifecycle values that were added in the system. For each custom value, the system will add a record to the lifecycle mapping table. However, those will be marked as incomplete and inactive. So you will have to do some additional work to get those working in the system. The lifecycle stage table is shown in an example here. Again, it is not recommended to create or update or delete any of these, as that can cause issues with reporting, the dashboards, et cetera. But you can go and look at what these values would be for lifecycle stage, and you can do the same thing with lifecycle status.
Great. So that's an overview of some of the pieces that are used for that mapping state, and they're also, used in the out of the box implementing tool, right? That for creating that. So one of the things you mentioned, I think Marcus is going to talk about here is if you, just because you have maybe customized or created new life cycle or new stages or states in one of your tables in your instance, that doesn't necessarily preclude you from going in and upgrading and moving to the life cycle statuses, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and although everybody I've worked with, I've kind of made the recommendation, let's look at first, can we kind of get back to the out of the box? Why have we customized it? Review some of those conditions and use cases on why people have customized it, and so many times the answer is simply, well, we wanted it to match the names in our old system. So they went in and created new states or new statuses or renamed statuses, which renaming isn't quite as big a deal as creating them. But and so sometimes taking a look at that and looking at, where can we get those back to out of the box before we go to life cycle stages, or if not, adding those steps into our upgrade process to make sure we're mapping our states appropriately. So sorry, I jumped into your talk. I'll let you go through, Marcus. I know you kind of wanted to walk through and do a more show and tell and deep dive on a couple of the items of this.
No. Hey, Scott. So that's a great call out. I was going to talk a little on that as well. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so what I'm sharing here right now is the life cycle mappings, right? So after you activate the plugin, you will have this CSDM life cycle mappings. So to what Scott mentioned, out of the box after the plugin is installed, a list of, well, let me go into this record. There is a preloaded list of mappings that's already done. But what I wanted to highlight here is this life cycle control. If we look at this list, it's already pretty much built out by ServiceNow. And so that's where I was going to comment on the call out that Scott did, right? So even though the custom statuses that you have built are created in this mapping table, but they are set as inactive. So you would have to go through a series of mapping for the statuses, for the CI statuses to the life cycle stage and status as well. So in this exercise, it's great to review if it's a good idea or possible to move back to out of the box statuses. Right, because going forward, the life cycle stage and statuses are what's going to be used on the CI itself. And if we look at this mapping, right, out of the box itself, there's already hundreds of them, right? So, and specific on tables. So this is already a pretty comprehensive list from ServiceNow. So it's definitely a great review step, right, to see if we can move back to out the box statuses. Now, one quick thing to note, so out of the box, the statuses are not immediately updated on the CI. So let me show you an example. So on the Windows CI table, right? So we can see here the life cycle stage and status are empty, right? So when this life cycle plugin is installed, 2 fields are added to a CMDB CI table. So they are all empty. Now, what happens is when you hit the activate button, that creates a one-time bulk update of all CIs. So that there definitely needs to be a substantial effort spent in identifying the mapping for this legacy status and substatus to the life cycle stage and status, right? So if you can see here, it's all by tables. And so definitely, I would say spend more time reviewing these statuses before running the bulk update, right? And another key note is in the CI class tables, so any inherited tables would inherit this mapping as well. So unless there's a difference in mapping, then you will add the subclass into this mapping table. So those are some of the key areas that needs to be reviewed before you actually activate this.
All right. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you kind of helping bringing us some clarity on this guy. So if I were giving somebody what I think is a takeaway on this, I want to talk about the value in going to these life cycle stages and life cycle statuses. And what I see as the value is, one, is that consistency across the application, whether I'm talking about products or models or assets or contracts. I'm using the same naming convention. They're going through the same. They don't all have to have the same pieces of life, but they're going through the pieces, consistency across that, or people who are managing the services and managing these CIs. All these things interconnect, and now they're all driven from the same naming convention, the same process, and things going forward on our dashboarding and on our if you're using any of the performance analytics packs with it, those things are going to come with stuff that drive from life cycle stages, and that's kind of go-to. And the other thing that I take away from this is it's shouldn't be so terrifying to go to it, right? You kind of walked through, and I appreciate you guys walked us through that. ServiceNow has provided us an upgrade mechanism to get there. Just because we've maybe customized, and we all said many times, well, look at going back to out of the box. But if you have real reasons, if you have real business cases on why you have that upgrade path, that upgrade tools, gives you the ability to handle those when you actually implement the life cycle statuses. So I don't think people should really be afraid of this, as it seems like a lot of organizations are. And I think we have the product has provided a good tool to get there. So those were my takeaways. Did I miss anything, you guys?
No, I think that's good.
All right. So like this, if you're interested in life cycle statuses, or maybe still a little terrified, don't be afraid to reach out to us or click on one of those links down below there. And if not, we'll see you next time in our next session. Then we'll be talking about some of the importance of a mature CMDB and where that can get you, whether it's in your vulnerability response or your ITSM space. So those are some of the things we'll be talking about. So look forward to seeing everybody in future sessions. We'll be right back here on the same ITOM time, same ITOM channel.